It's a happy, happy day here at Pace, where we have with us a very, very special lady. A lady who's been with us many times before, and we hope many times in the future. She's an author, she is a poet, she is a writer, she is an opera singing chef. The one, the only, Elisabeth Podsiadlo.
Hello.
Hello, and welcome back to Pace.
Thank you so much. Good to be here. And I hope you brought with you your finest Irish accent.
Well, I had a hunch, because we've done Italian and we've done French. It looks like we'd be doing the Irish.
Oh, you'd be so right. And I see you got one of my favorite colors on. And I might say, where did you get that tie?
The pretty lady in wardrobe put me together.
Very nice.
So why don't you tell all of us exactly what's going on here today, and I'll sort of get out of the way.
All right, but you be sure to come back and sample a little, okay? By gosh, me golly, there'll be no blarney here when you come back,
well,
okay?
there'll be blarney here when I get back.
I'd be sure of that. I think everybody has their own Irish accent tucked away, and I certainly love all things Irish. I have a wee bit of Irish inside of me myself, besides English, Irish, Scottish, Prussian, Russian, and German, but today we'll be focusing on Irish. It's funny, the dish I'm making for you today, and I'll try to drop the Irish accent so I won't make all the Irish people out there mad, but today we're going to be making a mulligatawny stew. Now, you purists out there are saying, that's not Irish. Like, what do you mean it's not Irish? Mulligatawny is not an Irish word. No, it's not. Well, I got news for you. You're right, it's not. But I'm kind of tired of corned beef and cabbage, and this has lamb in it, and lamb, in my opinion, is Irish. So what we're going to do is we're going to start our beautiful stew by browning some gorgeous lamb. So you start off with about 3 tablespoons of butter. We'll let that butter melt in our pan. And it's really we're cooking with jet fuel here, so things get hot fast. And I'm just gonna throw in my lamb, like so. Yes. Beautiful, nice. Now you can cut your lamb whatever size you like, small or large. This is going to stew for 2 hours, so we'll just let it cool, or let it brown. Okay, we're gonna let this brown. While we're doing that, we have a few things to chop up. It's interesting, the combination of things that goes in here. It starts out with lamb, and we'll let this brown. Now, you know, lamb's got a lot of water, just like beef. The larger the base of the pan you're going to cook it in, the better browning you're going to have. What's going to happen first, of course, is it's going to release a bunch of water. So you're going to see a lot of water in there before the browning starts. So what I do is let the water release. You're not adding any salt or anything at this point. We're going to turn it in a minute, and then we'll add a few things. But right now I'm going to chop up my onion. So we've got this all nice and diced. I did a lot of this while JR was giving me that fine introduction. Beautiful, okay. All right, we're going to turn our lamb. There we go. We'll just start turning it. It's just beautiful. So already starting to take on a gray color. And we'll let this cook. Now, ideally in your house, you'd want this to cook for a while to let it brown, but what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add our onions to this and let them brown for about 3 minutes with the lamb. So we're kicking it up on high gear, but you'll do this a little slower at home because you need that water to evaporate to get those fine brown edges on your lamb, which creates all of the flavor. And again, that has everything to do with the size and base of the pan you're cooking in. But I got to tell you, the fragrance. Don't tell anybody. If you have people in your house that don't like lamb, don't tell them it's lamb. They will think it's beef. It's delicious. And this is grass-fed. It's awesome. Okay. So what we're going to do is after you let this brown a little bit and the onions have turned a beautiful color, you would add some of your spices. I'm going to talk to you about these spices right now. The first thing, once it browns, we're going to add is some ginger and some flour. Then we're going to add some curry. Yes, there's curry in this. Be a little bold. It is a mild curry. You can buy curry in different strengths, but this is just a mild curry. Once we do that, we're going to throw in the rest of the vegetables. Now you might notice there's an apple on my table. Yes, indeed, there are going to be 2 apples in this dish along with some carrots. So I'm going to start chopping up some of these beautiful things here. So I'm not going to peel this, okay? I like to keep the peel on the apple while I'm cooking my mulligatawny. I like it. It holds together better. So I'm just essentially slicing this off, and then I'm going to dice these smaller, you see. We've got some beautiful songs for you today, some of my favorites. One is a very cute little story, and it's called The Leprechaun. And then one of them is called The Water is Wide, and you probably know some of these pieces. So we're going to chop. Now this recipe actually has 2 apples in it, 1 green pepper, 2 carrots, and remember, you can get all this information off of the Pace website, which is at tasteofpace.net. So if you have questions, I'm sure we'll have that right up so you can look it up right on your screen. And before I forget, and I do tend to do this, I want to introduce my accompanist, who I have been working with for probably more than 8 years now. His name is John Danke, and he'll be here with me playing today. John is, I tell you, he's like a great ball player. When I sing, he holds up his catcher's mitt and catches me wherever I land when I'm singing, because you never know what I may remember and what I may forget, especially when I'm doing 7,000 things at once. It's really quite something. All right, the lamb is doing a gorgeous job. It's releasing a lot of its waters. We're gonna let that brown a little more. I still have some chopping to do. There are a lot of gorgeous vegetables in this. We got a green pepper here that I've already sliced open. So there is a green pepper, one. You want 1 green pepper. You've got a half an onion in there. So we're gonna dice this. And you know, the size of the dice depends on how you like it. I've taken the seeds out of this to quicken things up a little. And I'll save all these things for my compost pile. It'll be just great. So we're gonna keep chopping here. It's interesting, I tend to spend all my time looking down at the food, but I gotta remember to look at you guys out there. Yes, sirree. So it's interesting, Irish stuff, you know. I don't have a lot of Irish things, and a couple of the recipes I do know, like the brisket and the cabbage and all those things, the corned beef. I've had them for years, and I needed something different. That's what brought on this wonderful recipe to my attention. Okay. What we're going to do is slice this apple one more time. I think we're ready to go. You see how I've got it all sliced? And we've even got lentils that's going to go in this dish. Okay, we're going to stir this up. Again, at your house, you want this to brown a little bit longer, but I'm going to go ahead and push this through. We're going to put in a little ginger and some flour, and we're going to end the curry. I'm going to start with the curry because I want that meat to cling. I want the curry to cling to the meat. You have about 2 tablespoons of curry, I think. Might be 2 teaspoons. You better check the website. Ha ha ha, I'm gonna make you go there. All right. You can also, when you go to the website, you can see pictures from previous shows and lots of recipes. Now, let's pretend this is browned just beautifully, and we've added our curry, we're adding our ginger and our flour, and the onions in there. It's gorgeous. And you get a great curry facial. It's awesome. Oh, it smells great. Okay. Now, I like to let this brown, but there is a danger when you're cooking with rocket fuel that you might burn these spices, so I'm going to turn it down just a smidge. Once we get this going, I can rest and sing you a song. This is the hardest part of it. You just saw it. Okay, you got to chop up your lamb. You know, you can find lamb at a butcher near you, or you can go to one of those club stores without saying the name. You know, they have great lamb, and then you can chop it up yourself or have... I think you got to do it yourself. I don't think they'll do it at the big stores, but if you know a butcher, you can always have them do it. Most of the lamb you get is a year old. That, you know, the lamb that you remember your mom or aunt making that was very, very muttonish, those days of lamb are gone, at least in America. Most of the lamb and most of the beef you eat is about a year old. Okay. At this point, what you do is you're going to add your chicken broth. This is 1.5 quarts of chicken broth. I guarantee you, I've had people, when I taught this at my cooking class, say this was the best thing I've ever made. So you've got to try this at home if you love lamb. It's just awesome. Okay, we're going to add our carrots. Right now, you just put everything in except the last ingredient, which we'll talk about in a minute. We're putting in our celery, our apples, and our green pepper. We're going to put all this in. All this health, it's just awesome. That's my number 1 word, but I heard they'd said that word is out this year. You can't use awesome anymore. What am I going to do? What are you going to do? What word should we replace it with? Absolutely magnificent. How's that? Sound magnifique? Okay, so we've added all our vegetables to this. We're going to turn the heat back up. And now what we have here, these beautiful set of spices here. We've got paprika and cumin, salt, and we've got nutmeg and clove. Believe it or not, all of those things are going to go in this beautiful soup. So the soup originated in India, and then it made its way through to Scotland and then to Ireland. That's where it all came from. And I know that they do have this in Ireland. I've had it, so it's awesome. So add this and stir this up. And this will now cook, and you want to keep an eye on it, but pretty much you can let it go over a medium-high heat for 2 hours. When it gets close to the time when it's going to be done, you'll want to be sure to start scraping the bottom because it might start loosening up there. What we're going to do is, one thing I forgot was the lentils. There's about 1/4 cup of lentils that go in there. All right. Stir those in. And what we're going to do is we would let this cook for a couple of hours. And while we're letting this simmer a little bit, I'm going to sing you a song. Can you turn that on for me? Okay, let's sing, let's see, let me think about this now. Let's do the Leprechaun. Let's hope I remember all the words. And I got to wear my father's hat because if anybody had a little Irish in him, it was him. All vanity aside, here we go. Are you ready? Hit it, John. One moonlit night a leprechaun I spied, with scarlet cap and coat of green, with leather laces tied. 'Twas tick-tack-tick, his hammer went upon a tiny shoe, and I laughed to think of the purse of gold, but the fairy was laughing too. With tiptoe step and beating heart, quite softly I drew nigh. There was mischief in his wrinkled face, a twinkle in his eye. He sang himself a merry tune and hammered on his shoe, and I laughed to think he was caught at last, but the fairy was laughing too. With tiptoe step and beating heart, quite softly I drew nigh. There was mischief in his wrinkled face, a twinkle in his eye. I grabbed his purse, he said, "It is the lady by your side," and I laughed to think what a fool I'd been, but the fairy was laughing too. A little bit of fairy magic, there we are. All right, better take the hat off or I won't be able to think straight for the rest of the session. All right, so what we're going to do now is, because we don't have a 2-hour show, which you never know, one day we may, we're going to give this a quick stir, and we're going to switch this out with the pot that I actually have cooked for 2 hours. My friend Leah's going to put that one on, and we're going to take this off, put it right over the flame, sweetheart. There we go. Now what we have here is the final beautiful mulligatawny stew, and as you can see, it has a gorgeous color. It's like the color of coffee with all of the spices in it and the beautiful lamb. I mean, there's just gorgeous chunks in this lamb stew. It's gorgeous. And at this point, we're going to bring it to a boil. And while we're bringing it to a boil, what we're going to do is we coated the lamb with flour. And so now what we're going to do is not add any more flour to thicken it. Actually, we're going to add, of all things, strangely enough, coconut milk. It's going to sweeten it, and it's going to thicken it and make it so rich and luxurious. This is quite an exotic recipe. And, you know, you'll impress a lot of people when you make this because of how unusual it is. So we're going to go ahead and pour this in here slowly. And you can see it's a whole cup. You put in a whole cup, which when you're purchasing this in the store, make sure you're not using the sweetened coconut milk. Look at how beautiful that is. What a color. That is gorgeous. We'll just let this come to temperature. Now this is cooked for 2 hours, and the lamb is nice and tender. And what we're going to do is we're going to ladle some of this into a bowl to give a chance to sample it. Let's see now. Oh good, I'm afraid I lost my spoons. JR, are you coming back in here? We got to have you sample this now. He's hiding over there. Just not curry, not spices. No! Just kidding. I don't even know if he likes spices.
But of course I do. It smells.
You have to say that because, you know, you have to.
I have to say that, but the color is beautiful.
It's beautiful. I'm going to actually taste it, make sure it's hot enough.
Okay.
Make sure it's spicy enough. Oh my God. I got to tell you, you're going to love this. One of my best dishes. Such a rich flavor. Now, this has a little spice to it. Are you going to be up for it?
I love a little spice.
Oh, you're so good. Okay. Well, what we're going to do is, we'll put a little bit in a bowl here for you. And you got a clean spoon, aren't you lucky?
I feel very fortunate.
All right.
In more ways than one. Oh boy, look
Yeah,
at that.
look at the lamb in there. It's gorgeous.
Mm.
Now, this is a sample, so I don't want to overdo it. But it's just a beautiful bit, and you got to just give it a try. You give it a try there. I'll give it a try here.
Give it a moment to cool.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Oh, it's not as hot as you think.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't burn your beautiful little palate. All right.
Oh boy, you folks. If
You don't-
you're real lucky, there may be some of this left by the time you get up here.
Now, you know, when you're eating this, JR, you don't know whether to talk in an Indian accent or an Irish accent.
Aye.
It depends on where you go, right? So let's see.
Well, I don't do either of them well, so
I gotta
just-
tell you,
enjoy.
tender lamb.
It is
Did I mention
fabulous.
tender? Little bits of apple, green pepper. There is a little kick to it. The curry has a little spice. Don't be afraid of it. If it's a little too hot for you, what you can do is you can add a little sugar, just a little, and it'll actually trick your taste buds. Another thing is you want to serve this with a nice hearty bread. And what I've got for you here is a beautiful of a whole grain bread. We're going to shut this off. So you take a little of this and you do the right thing, you know, you're going to dunk it in your soup just beautifully like so. Yeah, I wasn't going to give you any.
Well, quick, baby.
Yeah, to your health.
The old fraternity house reach.
So what you want to do is, while you're cooking, don't leave your ladle in there for one thing. But you're going to cook this until it becomes, the lamb is tender, and it'll just fall apart tender, which is awesome. At this point, you want to make sure that you're going to be stirring the bottom of your pan because it will condense and get lower and lower, and the flour that you put on the meat earlier will start to stick. So make sure that you keep an eye on it towards the end, you know, and don't let it go down too far. Of course, you'll cook this covered when you're cooking it, and you'll keep it over the low heat. About an hour in, you can taste the lamb. You have my permission. And then see how far you think you're going to go. It depends on, you know, how many BTUs your stove is too, what you have it at. So cook it along until you're ready. Serve it for a party. It's just fantastic, especially with a good hearty bread. But I would recommend you all give it a try. And thank you very, very much. And stay tuned for the second half when we're going to do barmbrack, a beautiful farmer's bread, very low fat, intensely flavored, and we're going to make it with a little bit of Irish coffee my way. Yes, I knew you'd like that.
I hope I'm still around for that one.
Oh, we'll be around, and we're having a great time. We'll see you afterwards.
Sounds good. Bon appetit.
Bon app- Hey everybody, I got a wonderful dish, another recipe to share with you. And what I really love about this recipe is its intense flavor, and it's actually low fat and healthy, and it's called barmbrack. It's a farmer's bread. But before I get into this, I have one more song I'd like to sing for you, and I'll start by playing my penny whistle, and we're going to do a little river is the water is wide. I so much for allowing me to sing for you. While I ponder what I just sang, it is a little sad, that song at the end, but it is such a pretty piece. So we're going to talk about the barmbrack, the Irish farmer's bread, and this truly is a traditional Irish dish, and you're going to love it. What you're going to need is some bergamot tea. Earl Grey usually has a good portion of bergamot in it, but look at the tea you buy. You can use a black tea, but the bergamot gives it a beautiful flavor. You're going to brew yourself a really strong cup of bergamot, and then you're going to chop up apricots and cherries and apples and raisins and cranberries and nectarines, the dried fruit that you buy in the bag. The mixed bag is perfect. And you'll get about, I think it's about 2.5 cups, and you'll soak it overnight in a cup of really strong bergamot tea. Make sure you strain the tea itself out of the tea mixture before you put it in with your fruit, or you're going to have a very texturized cake. Anyway, so once you've done that, the rest is easy. So let's say it's the next morning, and what you're going to need is you're going to need some self-rising flour. If you don't have that, it's just a little baking powder with flour, but self-rising flour, you can buy it at any market. Okay, so we've got our beautiful fruit in here, and it's moistened beautifully with the tea. What we're going to do is we're going to add our sugar. And again, you can get this recipe on a tasteofpace.net, so don't worry if you don't catch all the ingredients. We're going to put in our sugar. We've got about 2 tablespoons of a beautiful orange marmalade, okay? And then here we have a mixture of mace and nutmeg and cinnamon, and we're going to put that in there, okay? And an egg. We're going to go ahead and mash this up. This is a slightly beaten egg. I'll just go ahead and I'm going to use my hands. It gets a little messy, but I'm wearing gloves, so it's not so bad. You could use a mixer for this, absolutely. No problem. But if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, you'll be doing it with your hands, perhaps not with gloves. Okay, we got a nice slimy mess, and to this we're going to start adding our flour, a little bit at a time. And we're going to get this all moistened up here. And we'll add more flour. And it's about 2.5 cups of flour. But again, you better check that recipe to be sure. Okay. All right. I'm pouring in all the flour just to make life interesting, and I'm going to go slow. So this will be a nice addition, a beautiful thing to serve at breakfast. But I will tell you, while I'm mixing this, what else I have for you today is my own version of Irish coffee. Now you're probably all thinking, well, we know how to make Irish coffee. It's just coffee and whiskey. Well, I'm not exactly, I don't like coffee and whiskey. I like a little cream, and so what I did was I bought Irish cream. And we're going to mix that in with our coffee, and we'll surprise JR, and we won't tell him, huh? He'll be in for a treat. Oh, this is getting to be the perfect consistency now. Now the trick is getting it off the glove. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay. That wasn't so bad. Okay. When you're doing this at home, if you should decide to do this with your hands, a wet hand will go a long way. Okay. What I have here is a greased brownie pan. That's what you want to use here. Okay. And I'm just going to take all of this and I'm going to put it right into that brownie pan like so. Okay. I'm going to press it out. And again, if you were to wet your hands a little bit, this would go a lot easier. But it makes television interesting, yes indeed. Let's watch the chef struggle with the gooey dough. Julia Childs would totally approve, I assure you. Okay, so we've got all our beautiful dough in here. And what... Okay, and then I'm going to wash my hands like magic, voila, clean. Okay, good. We're going to put this in our oven, and we will cook it at a 375 degree preheated oven. That's hot. And you're going to go between 35 and 45 minutes, depending on your oven. You know, I hesitate to tell you to poke a knife or anything in this until you're sure that it's really close to done. And how you'll tell is instead of inserting a knife, after 35 minutes, I always check at least 10 minutes before it says, and I'll touch the top of it, and if it gives a little bit too easily, it's still soft in the center. But if it's coming back up to my touch, then I feel confident I could put a toothpick in there to test it, okay? And you'll see it gets beautifully brown. What we have here is one that is already baked. And you can see how it's very durable. You can pick it up, throw it around. It's quite good. It's a perfect thing for tea, but it's also quite delicious. Now let's make this drink real quick before JR comes in. Okay, so we're gonna take a little bit of Irish cream, right? Just a smidge, just a little, just a smidge, whoop. And we're gonna add some nice hot coffee here. Okay, and we'll mix that up beautifully, good hot coffee. I think that's a good ratio. Don't ask me the ratio, I'll put it on the site. Okay, and I'm gonna put a beautiful cup like so. He'll never know. Maybe though, he might have a little Irish in him. He'll probably suspect something. Okay, a little for me. Gotta pay the cook, right? Delicious, okay, and we'll cut a little bit of the brambrack. Hey JR, come on in, I got some coffee. Oh, I'm so sure. Oh, you did, all right. Okay, I've got some coffee for you. I hope you're in the mood. I put a little bit of cream in it. I hope that's okay.
Always love a little coffee in the afternoon.
That's good. Enjoy. Well, why don't you taste that coffee? Tell me what you think.
Right. Me wild Irish roses are now.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Very special coffee.
Yes, very special coffee. Keep you warm on those cold San Diego mornings.
Goodness.
Now this is...